Well, hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to STEMGo, saving time, energy, and money in your business. This is a great show where we feature some lovely business owners, very talented business owners who do great things in their work. And today, my guest is Roger Knott Fayle. Hello, Roger. How are you doing?
Hello, hello,
Hello,
England.
in England.
Mm.
And you're outdoors right now, so tell us where you are. In
I'm in
England.
Devon, in a place called Devon, which is in the southwest of kind of Britain. And this garden actually belongs to my mother-in-law. And so
Oh,
we're here with my two sons and my grandson, and we're having a bit of a holiday. So yeah,
lovely.
yesterday we went, to Woolacombe. I don't know if you know Woolacombe. Have you ever been there?
I probably have, but I
It's a very
can't.
famous kind of seaside-y, surfy place.
All
And
righty. Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, I have. I have. And Fiscal Bay, near Fiscal Bay.
yeah, I think it might be. In fact, they used it. In preparation for the D-Day landings, they used this beach at Woolacombe because it's very similar to the ones in northern France. So they rehearsed.
Oh,
Yeah, Omaha.
yeah.
It was standing in as Omaha.
Very good. We've got a bit of interference going on right now, but we'll see how we go.
Oh, I'm seeing you fine.
Sometimes late night connections for me are not as good as the early ones. So we'll see how we go, eh?
Well, just go for it.
So tell us a little bit about you. And I know you've got a background in film and teaching film,
Yeah.
but also you have another life going on. So tell us about those two lives that you have.
Yes, my double-sided life. So, as you say, in one part of my life, I've been involved with filmmaking since 1985. So that's quite a long time now, and I've been
Yeah,
mostly freelance, and I do work as a camera person and lighting person, but also
yeah.
I do a lot of teaching over the years. I've run lots of little courses all over the place, including like in Finland, and I've done loads of stuff around Finland, right up to the north.
Awesome.
I've done courses in the Arctic Circle, which is amazing.
Wow.
And
Wow. That's stunning.
well, after the course, you all go for a sauna, of course, after that, or as they call it, a sauna. And and so that kind of continues. Although the camera work seems to be a bit dry at the moment, but I think that's because nobody's got any money. And
Sure. Mm.
but I still do lots of teaching. So I used to run this course called Head Start, which was a course that trained. It was like a vocational training course. So people who went on that course went on to work in the industry.
Yeah.
And they've gone on to make feature films, and like one of them works as a camera woman. She's always on the end of a pole at big, if there's like a royal event, she's one of these people
Mm.
up in the sky on a thing that goes up and down.
That sounds
Uh,
painful. Being on the end of a pole.
on a suitable platform, obviously. And
Okay.
yeah, so and lots of them have gone on to do amazing things.
Yeah.
Um, and so I still do teaching. I do a lot of stuff for the BFI, which is the British Film Institute. So
Okay.
I run something called the BFI Film Academy in Nottingham, and so that's like kids from 16 to 19 years old, and there's 20 of them, and they make 3 films. It's chaos, as you can imagine, but it's
I
really
can
good as well.
imagine. I
It's
can
a
imagine.
it's a beautiful challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've
And
gone
then
all
in the
for.
other side, sorry, go ahead,
Sorry,
after you.
just letting you know that you've gone a little bit fuzzy again. That's all. Just to say to the audience, he doesn't normally look like that. It's just, it's technology that's working. It's magic.
Yeah. Um, and then on the other side of my life, I'm a hypnotherapist. I was trained by this two people. They were in Sheffield. They were strange people.
Oh, were you? I bet they were really nice people, eh?
They were really nice. Yes. So that was like 2010 or 11 or something. I can't quite
Wow,
remember.
that was a few years ago now, wasn't it?
So I got very ill before I met you, and I had
Mm.
to have a huge operation, which made me feel really anxious. And so I went
Mm.
to see a hypnotherapist, and that was a very interesting experience. This lovely woman, she was really ordinary, but she was really unusual at the same time. And
Okay.
we'd have these conversations, and I think, how are you doing this? I don't know how you're doing this. I'm going to have to
Yeah.
find out. And so
Yeah.
that's what set me off on the journey. And,
Sure.
and I've been doing it ever since I finished your course. I've been doing it, and I've got. I wouldn't say I've got enough clients to live on or anything like that, but I've got quite a few, which is
Yeah.
really, really fantastic and interesting. and life enhancing for me and hopefully for them as well.
Yeah, and I remember because when we did supervision together
Yeah,
back then, when you
yeah,
finished, I remember it was so the sessions I was so looking forward to because um, your work is not always that straightforward in terms of how you do it. You're a little bit off-piste, I
no,
think, sometimes, but that's not a bad thing. In fact, that's a very, very good thing. And I liked your creativity. I loved your creative spirit in terms of wanting to do things a little bit different.
yeah. But actually, I mean, when you talk about efficiency and stuff like that, I mean, I'm not efficient in a business sense at all. But I think like efficiency is to do with trying to think of the best way of doing something
Mm,
and what's going to be the most effective way of doing that.
yes.
So for example, in hypnotherapy, I've come up with some quite. So there's one thing I really enjoy doing where the client arrives. I've got to drive, so they have to come up the drive to get to my front door.
Okay. Yeah.
And sometimes I happen to be in the garden when they arrive at the front. I'm doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I might be trimming something, or I might be mending something on my car, or something like that. And we get into a
Hmm.
conversation. But actually, what I'm doing is embedding some kind of symbols or kind of analogies with what I'm doing.
Awesome.
But they don't think about it because they think, oh, the session hasn't started yet because we're in the garden. They caught me because they think it starts when we sit down. But
That's
actually,
what I'm saying, Roger.
I
That's what I'm saying. You do things
so
a little bit differently, right?
I've slipped in an image or two before we get in there. And I think that's great. Though.
Sounds like the good old Milton Erickson type stuff to me. What do you reckon?
I suppose it is. I haven't thought about that, but I guess it is. But I thought it's like going under their gut because as soon as they sit down, you see what happens is if I don't do that, I stand in a certain place. I call it the periscope. So I
Okay.
stand in a certain place. I play my ukulele, so I'm standing with my ukulele in the house, looking out of the window, but they can't see me, so they have to come up the drive. So I can
Yeah.
assess their mood before they arrive, because as soon as they
Okay.
press the doorbell, they change their face a little bit. We all do.
Ah, yes, yes, that's
So
true.
I like to see. So I like to see how they come up the drive and whether they got their head down or up, or what kind of mood they look like they're in. Like
Yes.
one day,
So,
I saw
yeah,
this client arrived and the week before, I've been talking about neural pathways and how you can change them and how, like, if you've got a car and the winker's on one side and then you buy another car and the winker's on the
yeah,
other side, you keep on
yeah.
using it the wrong way around until you get used to it because you rewire your pathway. And I was saying how I've been training myself to open the door, not with this hand, as we normally do in Britain, but like
Yeah.
this, which is called the Dutch reach. And
Okay.
it's so that you look round and you see the cyclist coming up behind you because it makes you turn your head. So I was
Yeah.
telling him about this, and I've trained myself to do it like that. And then I was looking out the window from my periscope position, and I saw his car arrive park illegally on the pavement, as he always does. It's one of his things. And he did the Dutch reach. I thought, that's interesting. So I could see that he had obviously taken something in from the week before, and he was thinking about it. And also the week before, he forgot to pay me. So he did the Dutch reach. He got out of the car and he checked his pockets and looked in his wallet and made sure he had the money. So I knew something about what kind of state he was in before he actually got to the door.
See, that's stunning. We can learn a lot about our people, can't we? When
Yeah,
they're not putting on the performance of having, or being nervous, in fact. Like, as soon as, like you
yeah,
say, as soon as they hit the door, it's like, oh, the nerves kind of strike up. Oh, goodness, I'm
yeah,
going to see
exactly.
someone and I'm going to strange places and I'm going to be dealing with some potentially, challenging stuff that I haven't dealt with before. And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
kind of does, it creates a reaction which you don't get if you see them in more of a kind of natural
yeah, yeah, exactly.
environment. Mm.
And it's not to be like spying on them. It's not quite like like this. It's kind of just getting just getting something, a bit of information, isn't it, beforehand?
It is, and it
So
helps you to help them. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it helps you
absolutely.
to help them. And like you
Yeah,
said, it's a different kind of effectiveness and efficiency. It's a different kind of tool that you're using, which is a little bit different to most traditional
mm,
when we talk about productivity, really. But you're being guided by certain things going on, which will then
yeah,
enable you to work in a certain way
yeah,
um,
exactly.
without the client having to put on a pretense or to
Yeah,
put on a performance or whatever it might be.
that's right, exactly. So I like that kind of thing, and I do love stories. As you might know, I love
Oh, yes.
making up stories and doing things with words, and so I love embedded stories. I think they're called. Is that the right word? I think so. Where I say,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. I do it sometimes with teaching as well, where you
Yeah.
can start to tell a story. So I might say, I heard about this bloke. This bloke was talking to me, and he'd been to a rather posh prep school when he was a child, and he went there, and he had to wear a blazer and all that. Hated all that stuff. And when he was about 10, he started to feel these itchy things, kind of like on his shoulder blades were all itchy, and these little bumps came up, and he was really embarrassed because it was a boarding school and everything, and he was really. So what I'm doing is I'm telling a story, but actually,
Yeah.
it's not me telling the story. I'm telling you about somebody else's story. This is what somebody told me, but actually, it's a story about me. And in fact, in that
Yeah.
story, he finds out their wings actually that start growing, and he has to keep them quiet underneath his blazer. So he's got these wings, kind of secret things underneath his blazer, and one day somebody chases, a bully kind of chases him. He runs stupidly up a fire escape, and the only thing he can do is jump. And he jumps, and he's flying. And he goes up and up into the sky, and it's amazing how far you can get people not realizing that it's a story until he jumps and he starts flying.
Yes.
And
I remember some of this. Well, I can't remember exactly this. There's some of the metaphors that you used to use, but they used to be stunningly creative, for sure.
thank you. Yeah, I mean, I love that stuff. I think it's really interesting because I mean, for me, it is like it's creative, and
Yeah.
it fulfills the artistic part of me, but also I
Yeah.
think I mean, I found with teaching as well, I can make up stories. For example, there's a thing that you have to do quite often with cameras called the white balance, which is really boring if you talk about it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've seen teachers, well, you have to select setting A and show the piece of paper and press button B, and everybody's asleep already, So,
Yes. Yeah.
but if I
Not
say,
effective then.
but so I say, right, so inside the camera, you might think it's all electronics, but actually there's a little room at the back, and in that there's a little old lady, and she loves cheese sandwiches. That's her thing, and she's just constantly making cheese sandwiches. And every now and then, when you press this button and show the camera a bit of white, it makes a little bell go off in her office, and she goes, "Oh God!" And she goes along a corridor, and you can ham this up for as long as you want to go along, and down some stairs and up a spiral staircase. Eventually, looks out of the lens, at the piece of white that you're showing the camera, and then she gets out a special piece of white that she got from, you know, the Empress Cannon or something like that. Which she got on top of it was a religious ceremony on the top of Mount Fuji, and there was blood and fire and a sacrifice, and she was given this special piece of paper, and that's what she keeps in this silk envelope, and the one that you're showing her is a bit different color. She adjusts the camera until they're the same color. That's the white balance, and
You've got them into a trance before you know it, Roger, right? They're gone.
and it's much easier to remember what it's all about because you can hang it on something, can't you?
Yes, it's a story. It's got characters. It's got, kind of something you can follow, and it sticks, like you say, it sticks in your head. It's not just this. And in fact, I've used white balance a lot with my work, and I couldn't tell you exactly what it is or what it does or how I do it. I just click a button and let it do itself.
Well, the thing that's great about that story is that
Yeah,
actually, technically, that is what the camera's doing. It's comparing one white with another white, a white
yeah,
in its memory or the white that you're showing it, and it's just adjusting itself. So
yeah,
sometimes there's a red and a green and a blue kind of like three big kind of things like that she
yeah.
turns to. So she turns up the red a bit, or she turns down the blue a bit, or whatever.
Yeah, because like you said, the thing is, if you get too technical, people switch off. And
Yeah.
I know some people are like that. If you start going into jargon or just going, like you said, just technical, the brain switches off. It's like
Yeah.
I can't deal with this. But when it comes to be storylines or theatre or art or something like that, it becomes more, like you said, creative and memorable. Something that you can actually latch things onto. You can visualize it as well. Visualize
Yeah,
it.
exactly. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but I believe that we are kind of primarily hardwired to want stories. that's why we have story. You know, we surround ourselves with
Yeah.
television and film and books and things, and they're all stories.
Yes.
I'm sure there's something terribly kind of primeval about it, and for some reason, it's part of the way that we're built, you know, as humans.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you come up with stories, Roger? Where do you get your stories from? How do you be creative? For people out there who think this is all well and good, you know, I'd love to get off a script. I know that a lot of hypnotherapists work on scripts, and I'd like to get off a script and be creative and just do this off the top of my head. Is there any tips on how people can learn to be creative like you are?
I don't know. I mean, I think what I do is I think to myself, right, what is this like? What's going on with this client, for example?
Yeah.
And so then you can kind of rationalize and analyze that in a kind of fairly straightforward, not straightforward, but, you know, in a conventional way. But then you can think, well, what's that like? Is that like a machine, or is it like what's it like? So it's a bit like somebody on a journey with a rucksack on their back, and all the past is in their rucksack or something, I don't know. Or it's a bit like somebody who's desperately trying to fix a machine that doesn't work, or you know. So that's what I do. I try and think, what's it like? So you
liken it to something, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like making a kind of an analogy, a metaphor.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think because I've done it for all of my life, really.
Okay.
Even before I knew about hypnotherapy or teaching, I was still doing it, and I think it's just like exercising a muscle. It's just what I just do that.
Are you an avid reader? Do you like reading lots and lots of books?
I read a load of rubbish. My wife reads really sensible books, really kind of, and I just read, you know, at the moment anything with a spy in it. I'm a sucker for spies. I love that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Secrecy, fantastic. I love secrecy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I read a lot of rubbish.
So you just let your mind wander, and you just let that. Do you find you get yourself into a bit of a mini trance when you're doing the creative energy work with your client?
Absolutely. Now that's a really fascinating thing, and I didn't know that when I was on your course and everything. But when you get a client and if they get really into the thing that you're saying, you can actually feel it in yourself.
Yeah.
Which is really fascinating. You think, I know that you're feeling this, because somehow I'm in a kind of mini trance of some sort. I'm still active, still doing the thing, but somehow I can really feel it. Yeah, it's most odd. It's quite an interesting experience in itself, I think.
It is. But I think it's that like deep empathy, that ability to kind of relate to the person. And if your client's in a deep trance and you're going into trance too, that suggests there's a great depth of rapport going on there.
I went to a fantastic lecture in Helsinki by this woman who's a neuroscientist. She's got this beautiful Finnish name, Katri Sarkovi, and nice. she's a neuroscientist, and her particular specialism is about empathy. That's what she studies, and all the different things we're actually hardwired in three different ways to be empathetic.
Yeah.
So if I go, even if you don't smile back, you can't help it. Even if it's a false smile, because we have this empathetic circuit. Yeah. And she was explaining about all those different things. How we need empathy in order to work together and to make teams and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it helps. It certainly helps, doesn't it? If people have that belief and trust in you to be able to kind of lead you, that's kind of what you got to have. Yeah. I mean, go on, say.
I was going to say about teams. I mean, when I was running that course I told you about, there was 150 or so people applying every year for 10 places. So it was quite stiff competition. But also it's quite hard to know how to choose people. How do you choose out of 150 people? Yeah. And obviously sometimes you can think, well, it's not right for you. But you still end up with quite a few people. So what I did then was I had this system where because I was going to end up with 10 people, so that's 2 groups of 5, if you like. Yeah. So what I did was I thought, what we'll do is we'll have a mother, a father, 2 children, and a pet, and make a family. And we'll have 2 families. So the mother isn't necessarily a woman. Yeah. It could be. It's got some of the qualities of mother, you know, about caring and the fathers could be a woman, and it could be whoever it is, but they're kind of going, let's go this way. Not to say that it's always like this, and I know it's a bit stereotypical, but it just helped. And then you've got two children who are kind of curious and kind of thinking about how I'm playing and mucking around and stuff like that. And then most importantly, you've got the pet who's slightly, you know how you always find somebody who's slightly strange in a group, and they kind of throw pepper, you know, they're just a little bit different, and they kind of throw pepper into the mill, and they bring a little something extra. So sometimes even they might be slightly irritating, but they make everybody else think about
something different. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I make these two families. And I told this to
that is awesome. I've not heard that before. That's awesome.
No, well, I made it up. But I remember saying to a student a long time after they'd been on that course, and I told them about this. They said, "Well, what was I then?" I said, "You'll have to guess. You have to work out where you were."
Oh, they'll all be guessing, won't they? I bet your children and grandchild absolutely adore you, because as a kid, all you want is to be told stories.
Yeah.
And I bet that's all you do, isn't it, with your grandchild? I bet you tell them, is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy called Theo.
Theo.
He's only 3.
Oh, that perfect age for storytelling, eh?
I told him a story the other day about a boy that had a headache. So he went to Dr. Gra-Gra. That's what he calls me, Gra-Gra, because you get a different name when you become a grandfather or grandmother. You suddenly get given a name. So I'm called Gra-Gra. And he goes to Dr. Gra-Gra, and Dr. Gra-Gra feels the back of his head, and his head actually opens up, and there's a stage inside, and something's gone wrong on the stage. So Dr. Gra-Gra fixes the orchestra, and he gets the little mannequins moving again, and he closes the head up.
That's stunning. You really are stunning. You've got such a skill there, Roger. You really are.
Well, thank you very much.
Such talent.
I don't know about that, but yeah. And I kind of, I just love that stuff, though.
I can tell it comes so natural.
I used to tell my boys stories called silly daddy stories. So there was sensible mummy and silly daddy always ended up in the shit, literally. That's what happened at the end of story. But and they were just waiting for how he was going to end up in this bucket of crap or something.
Yeah,
somehow.
hanging on to it. Yeah, I was going to get there. Yeah.
And that was the hook, because they knew it was going to happen in the end. But just
each time the story ended like that, did it?
Yeah, exactly. So they used to like that, you know.
Oh, this has been so much fun, Roger. I know you're on holiday down there, but I feel I'm on holiday. He is in your presence. I just feel I could listen to you all night. This is just so entertaining. And I bet your clients absolutely love what you do. And you say you don't have as many as you'd like. I think if you put that talent out there, and I'm definitely going to put this talent out there and share it tonight, you'd be inundated with people. But I guess you don't want too many people, because you want to enjoy your holiday as well.
I had somebody from Australia once.
Oh, did you?
On Skype, yeah.
Stunning.
I don't know how that happened exactly, but somehow it did.
Yeah. I think you've certainly got a totally unique, I haven't seen it ever before, I don't think, in terms of you just being able to, just one after the other, after the other, after the other, just come up with stories off the top of your head. I think that is genius, absolute genius.
Yeah, well, that's very kind of you. I wish I could write them down and make some money out of it.
Yes, you should. You should write a book. Mind you, they wouldn't have the same appeal to you, I guess. I bet if you had to sit down and write a book and write them down, I bet they wouldn't have the same appeal.
Yeah, I think the dyslexia might kick in.
Yeah, but you could dictaphone it and then get someone else to write it down for you.
That's true.
That would be efficient, wouldn't it? To get someone else to be a ghostwriter and write it out for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's been a barrel of laughs here tonight, Roger. I am so pleased that you're still at it, and I am so pleased that you are as creative as ever in your work. Don't ever lose that, and I'm sure you won't, for sure, because that's just you. That's how you are.
Well, it's really nice to see you. You look fantastically healthy and happy and everything.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and I have to mention to everyone, this is your first ever Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So I have to thank you so much for being brave and coming on here. I really, I'm really pleased that you did. It's been a stunning conversation.
Great. Well, it's really nice to see you.
So you enjoy the rest of your holiday. How long are you down there for in Devon? How long?
I'm going back on Thursday, back to Nottingham.
Yeah.
Thursday, yeah.
Back to sunny old Nottingham, yeah. All right, I'm going to let you get off and go and enjoy your day, and let's keep in touch. Talk to you soon.
So, yeah. Okay.
Thanks so much, Roger. Thank you so much.
Nice to see you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Oh, thanks to Roger. I mean, Roger is a good old associate of mine. Yeah, he did come on our course way back when. And also, you know, Roger and I were in supervision quite a while afterwards. And his work is lovely. He's just so stunning that he just tailors everything that he does with his stories to his clients. And you know, that is productivity, because if you're tailoring something to your clients, you're really going to hit the spot more often than not in terms of being effective, helping your clients overcome, you know, issues that, you know, you could spend weeks and weeks and weeks, months even, helping them to overcome issues. But with Roger, because he's actually tailoring, he's completely absorbing himself in the client's world, and creating metaphors, analogies, and storytelling around the client and their issue. The client relates to it, and they don't know why they relate to it. It's very indirect, but they relate to it in a completely different level, a subconscious level, which means that it tends to bypass the conscious interference that we have when we've got a lot of busy stuff going on. And that goes under the radar, and it helps Roger to find a deeper level of meaning for the client and their problem and connecting with the issues. So, you know, he's a stunning guy, a lovely guy, beautiful work that he does. And thank him so much for coming on tonight. If you want to come on an interview with me and you want to share your talent, get in touch with me. And if you want more interviews like this, come on to STEMGo, Facebook, save time, energy and money. And I'd love to see you there. For now, take care. Have a productive day or evening wherever you are. Bye for now.